Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I am ranking the 5 bosses that are in Astro Knight. I believe the core box, to my knowledge, the expansion I don't think added any of the bosses, but this is also the Kickstarter edition. So there are 5 total that I will be talking about, ranking them from my least favorite to my most favorite. I have also done solo playthroughs of every single boss, so you can definitely go check out how they play in those. And the caveat here is also that this is ranked based off of those solo plays, so kind of my experience with them as doing a solo Astro Knight run. So I didn't two-hand 2 characters, it was with 1 knight, and I feel, well, we'll talk about that whenever I get to it. So, without further ado, let's talk about my least favorite one, which is the Fission Parasite. So the Fission Parasite, kind of going to go over it. It's a challenge rating 4. You has 50 health, and you basically have a swarm deck, or not a swarm deck. Well, you do have a swarm, but you also have a swarm track. And over time, there is going to be cards that increase this track, and when it does, it will deal 6 damage to the home world, and you will resolve swarm effects on boss cards, and then you reset it. So basically, yeah, they're called exo sludges. Basically, the swarm effect are infection cards, so over the course of the game, cards are going to come out that will infect a player. And what that does is, like, that's just like, oh, this player takes 6 damage. This player discards this many cards. And as a solo player, you're the only one taking those infection cards. Because normally when they come out, you just kind of, you can assign them out. So it's like, okay, in multiplayer, you take 1, I'll take 1, and then we just kind of manage that. When it's just you, oh, okay, well, the swarm track went up, it rapidly went up to 10, I have to take 5 damage, discard 3 cards, and homeworld takes 3 damage. Okay. Then you might be thinking, well, okay, sure, like, that sucks, but surely there's a way to get rid of them. Nope. You're just infected now. That's a thing you now have to deal with. And it's a challenge rating 4, which started to bring in my questioning of what the hell do challenge ratings mean. Okay, obviously, the higher the number, the more difficult it is. But I found later bosses who had way higher challenge ratings of like 6 and then 8 to be a lot more manageable. So it's like, okay, it doesn't just really make any sense because of the lack of ability to get rid of those infections. Because normally in games like this, so Aeon's End, it's like, oh, here's a power card that's coming out that's going to do a lot of damage. Okay, well, I'll burn my entire hand to make sure that doesn't happen. And you contributed. There's not even any way to do that. It's not like each infection card has a certain number of power requirement that you have to spend to get rid of it. That'd be fine. It's not like, I mean, that would even work thematically. You're taking time to get it treated or something. But here, you're just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm infected and I'm dying. So that's that. It was just way too much for a solo experience. I think this one could be better if there was multiple people that you can divvy out those infection cards. But even then, just the fact of that's it, you have that now, is just kind of annoying. So the Fission Parasite is my number 5. My number 4, and this was the only one I actively disliked. I actually liked the other 4. So again, kind of shows that it was most likely a solo issue, because I thought the other ones worked relatively well solo, but there still some issues as a solo player. My number 4 is Architect 0815. This one was a challenge rating 5, and it has 50 health, and it basically has a droid deck. This is kind of your standard if, again, you've played Aeon's End in any capacity. There's probably going to be a boss you've faced that just swarms you with minions. Well, that's what this one does. And you lose if there are ever 10 droids into play. There's only 10 droids in the droid deck. But it wasn't actually just like, oh, here's a bunch of minions, deal with it. They all have activated abilities. No, this one, they were actually instant abilities. I thought that was actually a nice subtle change, because if a card that the boss played was like bring out 2 minions, and one came out that was like, okay, the homeworld takes a damage per droid in play, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's just one right now. That's the only droid. And then you have to draw another one, and then it's the same minion. It's like, whoa, well, now the homeworld has taken 2 damage. So it took 3 in total, but that's it. It's only those instant abilities. And it can ramp up really quick, but the droids also have very little health. They only have 2, so as the boss levels up, yeah, they're going to have more health, but it's never like 8 or 10, and you're just like, well, we're screwed. Like, we can't deal with these. No, they were little tiny bots that you just could pretty much take out with a lower level weapon. I thought that was very nice. This was easily manageable, and I did just enjoy the fact that it wasn't a lot of minions. I never got close to having 10, but there were times where it was like 4 or 5, and it's like, at first when I was fighting him, I was thinking, oh man, this is gonna be really easy, and he's a challenge rating 5. I was like, this is gonna be really easy. What's going on? But like, am I doing this wrong? And then the boss went twice in a row, brought a minion out, and then brought 2 more out, and then suddenly there were 3 or 4 out, and they all bounced off of each other, causing my homeworld to go down from like, I think it was at like 30 health down to like 16 or something. It was like, oh, okay, well, that's now it's a problem. So I had to deal with that. It was kind of a nice balance. So yeah, I mean, not much on him, mainly because there's not a whole lot to really complain about. I thought the droids were neat. They just go there. There's a minion that's going to come through the boss deck that will shuffle those droids back in, so the deck doesn't run out. And also what's cool about him is every minion, or every boss, has a max level of 3, and he doesn't. His is actually 6. So you're not going to lose relatively quickly, but his deck is a lot smaller, so you do have to take that into consideration, that eventually his minions will have a lot of health. But I think I ended up beating him by, I think he was level 4 is where he was. So it was really neat just to have a different level cap than just 3. So that is my number 4, the Architect 0815. My number 3 is the last one that I faced, and that is Lunaris. Lunaris is a challenge rating 8 and has 40 health. And this one is here because I do really like its overall gimmick. It's not higher because as a solo player, it basically starts out level 2. Like, if he's the first one who's going, he's level 2 immediately, and that kind of will dictate your overall like game, I feel like, as a solo player, because when he's level 2, if he has 40 or more health, he increases his Eclipse track. And the Eclipse track, so he has a side deck of augmented strikes and minions, and these are just enhanced abilities of him and the minions. And I think that they are really, really cool. How he levels up is really neat because cards are going to cause those to come in. So his Eclipse track, once it hits 3, well, first of all, yeah, you take the top card of the augment deck and you put it on top, so it's going to go off. That's going to be his very next card. You don't know if it's a minion or a strike, but it's still going to be there. And then it goes back down to 0. So you lose if the deck does run out, which I never got close to running out. But what's really neat is, or what's kind of detrimental, is if you're playing solo and he starts out at level 2, well then he gains health, so he might as well have 50 health. And then if he has 40 or more health when he activates next, the Eclipse track goes up. That's kind of shitty, like, because of the fact that if you're a solo player, you can't really knock him below that by the time he's already level 2, so he's going to be ramping up the Eclipse track a lot and getting a bunch of augments in. Now, if you can kind of go a couple times before him, especially solo, if you get really lucky and can go 3 times, you might be able to whittle him down to where it's not that bad, but he's still basically going to be level 2 before you shuffle that turn order deck. In the multiplayer game, that wouldn't be an issue. He would have more cards, so you'd have more time to kind of get him below that before he gains his health. Now, granted, he might still get some augments in, but it's not going to be nearly as many. I also like the fact that his augments kind of had player choice. It was like, okay, the homeworld takes 10 damage, or you could remove one of his previous like starting cards from the deck. Hey, you can remove a card that has Celestial in it from the game. So it's like, okay, well, we survived this one. That was his turn. We'll just remove this. Yeah, we might pay for it later. We'll get rid of this weaker card, but we don't have to deal with that now. Or you could keep his deck, you know, thick and have the homeworld take some damage if that's the card that it does. And then, because you have some players who can heal it and be like, yeah, okay, yeah, by the time that comes around again, we'll probably have healed it. So it gives some players agency instead of it just being like this big whambo hyper beam attack that's like basically a middle finger and a you lose. It's they were powerful, but they weren't overly powerful. And I mean, like his shtick is kind of like you have to beat him at his own game. If his whole like ideal, because he basically has like these high level minions, not a lot, but they're really powerful, that just batter the homeworld down. So if you can beat him at just, okay, he outputs this much damage, we can heal that much damage, and then deal it back to him, his health gain isn't going to be as rapid. It might be a lot at first, but then if you can do more damage over time, then he will eventually fall. And that's kind of even his theme, like his hubris is what makes him beatable. And it almost happened, like in the finale, like I almost came back, even though he had like over 50 health at one point, and my homeworld was down to like 1. I was like, okay, well, this is pretty much over. This is a cool final fight. And then I was like, wait a minute. I'm kind of popping off right now. I might actually do this. And then I remembered that he hadn't gone yet. But it was there. It was there. So he's really cool. He does have a card in his augmented deck that if he has over 100 health, he wins. So he just gains a bunch of health. That's pretty much it. And then, yeah, if you can just stop him from doing that, then you'll probably beat him. Challenge rating 8. I think, yeah, like challenge, I don't know. Maybe 8 is supposed to be like the higher the number, the easier it is. That's definitely not true, because my next one, my second favorite, is actually the first one, the one you're supposed to start with, and that is Furion. So Furion is a challenge rating 2, and he has 60 health, and basically he has a artillery deck, so a little bit similar to the Fission Parasite. Is he has a track of artillery that goes up to 9, and whenever, but instead of it just being like, oh, if it maxes out, then you just take damage, or this one card comes in, it's whenever it hits at least 3, then you activate this ability, which is you draw and resolve the top card of the artillery deck, decrease it by 3, and then repeat until it's less than 3. I mean, the simplicity of this one, 60 health, this one felt like an Aeon's End boss that I fought, like many that I fought before, that's like, they gain tokens, and it's like, okay, well, now they have these tokens, so they'll get rid of these. Okay, they're still above that threshold, so they'll do it again. That's basically what he does, but he's just like this Galactus, like, level guy that's larger than a planet that just sends a bunch of massive missiles and bombs and artillery strikes at you. And it just felt good as like this is like a really solid opening boss. 60 health is almost it's tied for the most out of all of them. Very simple to manage, but still like was extremely balanced. Came down to, okay, if I go, I win. If he goes, he wins. And I just think that probably out of all of these, he felt the most balanced. And then the artilleries were just cool. You just felt like, okay, well, this is what I think a homeworld invasion might feel like from something that looks like this. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, when a player's exhausted, you increase the artillery track to 3. A lot of his cards, if they go off multiple times, will just rapidly increase this. And it's like, oh, he's at 9. Okay, decrease it by 3. Artillery strike. Decrease it by 3. Artillery strike. Decrease it by 3. Artillery strike. And then when he levels up, that's going to cause this to increase more. And what's really neat about his level up I know I haven't really talked about the level ups because some of them, a few of them I did, but it actually, he decreases his track less. So if he's at level 3, it's like, oh, okay, now you decrease it by 2. And it's like, oh, well, that means he's going to go off a lot more. So that's pretty interesting, and the artillery strikes were, like, pretty varied. It wasn't just, okay, like, kill a player. Whoa, well, okay, well, that's dumb. Mainly because also he's challenge rating 2, but again, that doesn't really make any sense. Because it's like, hey, here's your first one, challenge rating 2. Well, if he's the first one, what does that mean? I just don't think they scale. Like, the challenge ratings just don't make any sense. Why is he a 2, but the Fission Parasite's a 4? And why is, you know, Lunaris an 8, and I almost beat Lunaris, but, you know, almost lost to him. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, but the one you're supposed to start with is challenge rating 2 is my number 2. And if you've paid attention in any way to any of the videos I've uploaded, then you'll know what my number 1 is, and that is Continua. One, I just really like the theme. I think an experiment that about temporal, you know, warping or what was it? Space-time continuum, I think is neat. Also 60 health with a challenge rating 8, and this setup is very easy. It just adds a turn order card to the turn order deck. And there's been a few of those in Aeon's End where they have a unique turn. But in this one, even though I got demolished, like I would say this one's the hardest one out of all of them, I thought that it played more unique than, like, because these, the 4 I fought, I can probably find a nameless in Aeon's End, mainly because there's like 60. But I can be like, oh, that one's kind of like this one, just space themed. That one's like this one, but space themed. I haven't really played against a nameless that does what Continua does. And what she does is when the temporal turn order card is drawn, you discard a card for each minion that is in play. And that's kind of her whole gimmick, is that a lot of the minions, when they activate, kind of ping the homeworld a little bit. Like, it doesn't do a lot of damage, and there's not a lot of minions, but they make you discard cards. And in a game that's a deck builder, and your entire turn is centered around playing cards, if you are having to discard, that means you basically don't get a turn. I thought that was also thematically cool, because it felt like, okay, this person is like either looping time, because it's like making you skip, it's like fast forwarding time, making you skip a turn, or looping time to where it's like just, it gets to go a lot, or it's freezing you in time. Like whatever, something time manipulation to where if the temporal card comes out and you just haven't been dealing with the minions and you have to discard 3 cards out of your hand of 5 or 4 cards out of your hand of 5 or sometimes all your cards, then when your turn card at your very limited turn comes up and you're like, I don't have any cards, like I have some equipment like that I can shoot, but if it's like a blaster and you're like, okay, 1 damage, that was your turn because you don't get to draw. So it's like, okay, I guess I'm done, and then you draw up to your hand limit, and then you hope you get to go next. So it doesn't like soft lock you, it doesn't just constantly make you have no hands so where you're just sitting there watching it destroy, but it can every so often, to where missing a turn is huge when you are trying to get going, especially. So I just thought that the hand manipulation that this boss did, I don't even know if they call him anything, boss I guess, that this one did is unique. At least I'm sure there probably is a nameless that does this and I can't think of it, but at least out of all of these, it felt the most unique. So that is what made it my favorite, even though it annihilated me. I think obviously as a solo it was way more rough because it was just one person having to discard their hand. In a multiplayer game, it probably is, I mean, still, like, having any ability that's like, okay, I need exactly this hand right here to be able to get that card, or to stop this ability. Okay, all players discard a card. Okay. well, now I have to think of a backup. And that happened multiple times against this one, just because it was always me having to discard. It's like, alright, like I have exactly 8 based off what I'm doing. Okay, I can get that really high-powered one so I can start dealing damage. Okay, maybe discard a card. Okay, I can't get that one because it cost 8, I had exactly 8. Okay, I can get that second one because it cost 6. Oh, nope, maybe discard my hand. Alright, I can't do anything. That's just kind of as it is as a solo player. If it was like, okay, I have exactly 8, it's causing any player to discard a card. Can you do this so I can get this card? That's just kind of a problem, I think, with this game, if you're just using one knight. But still, really like the theme on this one. Thought it was very simple and straightforward, but unique from the rest of them. And that makes Continua, my number 1 boss out of the 5 in Astro Knights. So, that's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this ranking. Let me know what you think of these 5 in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.